Hey guys, when we left before school got canceled, we were talking about civil discourse. And this is a really important lesson, so I want to just make sure that we cover some of the basics quickly. Um, so we discussed, that this is conversation that supports the the societal good rather than undermines it. That it's conversation where both sides are trying to solve a problem and not necessarily focusing on winning. It's conversation where both sides actually listening to each other, trying to understand where each other is coming from. One of the things that we want to create is a classroom where people are not afraid to speak up, especially in a classroom where we talk about political opinions and controversial topics. So there's a lot of different things. I want you to think in your head right now of some of the reasons maybe why people don't speak up in the classroom, don't share their opinions, don't raise their hand. The purpose of good civil discourse, the purpose of parliamentary procedure is to try and create a much safer place for people to share their opinions and to try to calm some of those fears that people have. It will never calm all those fears, but if we all take it seriously, it will help a ton. So what happens when civil discourse breaks down? Why is this something that we absolutely need in our class? First off, when civil discourse breaks down, people shut down. And when people shut down, they don't share their opinions, they don't share their perspectives, and the rest of the group loses that. When you're trying to solve a problem, when you're trying to come up with new ideas, having every single opinion and every single experience talked about and shared provides a lot more ideas for how to accomplish solving the problem. A perfect example is us as teachers setting up this digital learning opportunity for you guys, this virtual learning opportunity. We wanted to hear everybody's fears. We wanted to hear everybody's opinions. We wanted to hear everybody's perspectives, because then we know where everybody's coming from and we can do our best to solve the problem based on where everybody's at with this. When civil discourse breaks down, only the loudest voice wins. I'm sure we've all been in arguments before, or we've witnessed arguments where the voices just keep getting louder and louder and louder, and really nobody is listening to each other. They're only focused on getting out their opinion and making sure that they are heard over everybody else. We don't want that to happen. In rare cases, violence breaks down, right? I'm not talking about violence in our school, but if you go out into society, when civil discourse breaks down out on the streets, when civil discourse breaks down in protests between police officers and protesters, violence can occur, right? People act out of the ordinary and they throw a punch, they use their weapons, they fight. And we want to keep civil discourse, not only in our class, but in society, so these things happen less. Minority voices are left out, right? If civil discourse breaks down, the people that are in the minority, whether it's a ethnic minority, a gender minority, an age minority, an opinion minority, those people feel like they can't share their opinions. And when we lose those opinions, our democracy suffers because we don't hear all sides. So that's why we need to have civil discourse. So what are some things that make civil discourse a challenge in the modern world? One, we all have diverse backgrounds, right? We come from very different backgrounds and experiences. Our cultures are different. In some cultures, right, it's rude to look people in the eye. In other cultures, it's expected. So we need to understand each other and where we're coming from in order to truly understand our experiences and our perspectives. We come from different moral backgrounds and value backgrounds and differences, right? Our families value different things. Some of us come from religious families. Some of us come from non-religious families. Some of us come from families where the climate, the earth are really important. Others come from families where hunting and fishing are really important. And it's important to understand those differences because that truly does impact the way we view the world and the way we view politics. Some of us come from single parent homes. Some of us come from divorced families. Some of us come from same-sex homes, right? And it's important to understand those differences and begin to accept it. You don't have to agree with it, but accept that people are different. Lastly, we have a lack of leadership, right? We don't see role models in society practicing good civil discourse. When you turn on the news, when you turn on the TV, when you watch our politicians and watch our leaders in sports, oftentimes you don't see good civil discourse. It's kind of awesome to see, however, that during the most recent months, as our country is in crisis, that people are working together. People are putting politics aside, putting differences aside, not all the time, but we're seeing that more often. And we're deciding how we can come together to solve problems. That is civil discourse. And it'd be nice if we could continue with that once we get through this crisis. So, what does this mean for our classroom? What does it mean if we come back to school? What does it mean online? It means a lot of things. One, listen to each other. Truly listen. Try to understand each other. Two, choose your words carefully. Realize that words have an impact, and people perceive words differently. So think about things before you say them. Think about things before you write them. Think about the way you are physically appearing to other people and your nonverbal communication that you are doing when they're making comments. Respect the opinions of others. And lastly, to do all of these things, we will use parliamentary procedure to guide our discussions, a basic parliamentary procedure, yet still parliamentary procedure. We'll call out uncivil discourse when we see it. We will ask for decorum from time to time, meaning for everybody to take a break, stop, refocus. We need to get on topic. We'll take a point of personal privilege to go to the bathroom, to take a break, to cool down and leave for a second if we need to. And we'll use phrases like my colleague, my fellow representative, the previous speaker, instead of calling people by name. This helps us to make sure that nothing is a personal attack, that we're talking about the issues and we're not pointing fingers at any individual. Normally what we would do now is we would look at some different political discussions and examples about whether or not they were good civil discourse. You can take a look at these, posted on Google Classroom. This whole presentation is posted there, and kind of do some of that yourself. Otherwise, just pay attention. As you're watching the news over the next couple weeks, are people practicing good civil discourse? What could make this conversation better? How could people listen better? And how could we focus on solving the problem? All right, we'll talk to you later. Hope everything's going well at home.